Homophobia has to go!
My body, my right!
Happy Pride Month, everybody! And it's something special. I wanted to do a little story from the vault, a little story from back in the day when I was in another country, and that was my first time at a Pride parade. Actually, this year, 2025, in Bangkok, it was my second ever Pride parade in my 32 years of life, and that was so exciting, and I posted a whole video about that. If you haven't seen it, please go check it out. If you have already, then welcome to this one, because the first time I ever attended a Pride parade was 9 years ago. It was in 2016, and it was in Bangalore, India. It was called Namma Pride 2016. So, Namma Pride Bangalore is an annual event that's been taking place for a while, for many, many years now, and it usually takes place in November, not in June. I'm actually not sure for the reasoning as to why they celebrate Pride in November, but I remember it just being there. It was my third month in India. I arrived in September 2016, and I just saw it somewhere online. I knew nothing, and I had never been to a Pride event. And again, I didn't even know like how, whether it was going to be safe or dangerous in India, how big of a scale this event was going to be. So I was, of course, a little bit nervous because still, it seemed to me that it was still a bit conservative. So I reached out to the organizers, and I found the organizers online. I sent them a message, and I was like, hey, I'm interested in attending the Pride Parade. I just have like a couple of security concerns. Is it going to be safe? Should I come? And they were like...
And I was at this point like, how dare you ask me if the bride is safe, you know? So I did give him a piece of my mind, and he took it within his own thing. He said, listen, this is exactly why I'm asking you that. And then right then I knew, okay, this is someone I totally need to have in my life and be associated with.
And so on the date, I went all by myself without knowing anybody at this event, without having any friends there in the Bangalore LGBT community, nothing. I just showed up. Randomly, and it was a crowd of 3,000 people that were marching. But still, it was my first ever Pride, and being surrounded by 3,000 like-minded people was very special.
Hey, ha, ho, ho, homophobia has to go!
And that was incredible. I think that was the first Pride parade in India, in the whole country ever, to be different ability inclusive. There was still this Section 377 of the Indian law that technically prohibited homosexuality on a legal level, so it was still criminalized back then. And yeah, I just remember like immediately finding community there, finding interesting people. An important part of the parade was the mourning of the trans victims in India. It was a big part of it, I remember. Other than that, it was a lot of celebration. And I remember that the event ended in a kind of like a performance show, concert kind of a thing with dancing. And there was also this special presentation of this book by a local author called Mohana, Swamy. The author's name is Vasudhendra, and it's a Kannada writer. So the writer writes in the local language, Kannada. And he wrote the first ever compilation of gay short stories in Bangalore in history. So that was exciting, and so they had this presentation of the book. The book itself, I think in Canada, it came out in 2013, but they did a translation in English in 2016, and later they also translated it, I think, to other languages like I think Telugu, maybe Hindi, and whatnot. And it was a very raw, candid perspective, very honest, very sincere into a life of a gay person in India. And it was like from first-person perspective. Not all the stories were directly connected, but they were all about the same person. And it was about him, the main character, Mohana Swamy, breaking up with his boyfriend after years of living together because his boyfriend was marrying a woman, which is, again, unfortunately, in more conservative places, a very common thing. And I personally know some stories like that. unfortunately. I think the book was about like reclaiming yourself, finding yourself, finding your voice through that. And it also like gave a lot of insight on like the hijra culture in India. I'm not sure if a lot of my audience are aware, but like I remember that when I was applying for the Indian visa, I was actually surprised by the fact that you could, even back then 10 years ago, you could select the third gender on your application. So it was always male, female, and other. But at the same time, there's also a lot of stigma, because I remember when I was there in Bangalore in 2016, like people were afraid of hijras. People were mostly, a lot of like the people that were surrounding me, a lot of them were like very suspicious of them, and they would mostly advise me to avoid them, and they would say that a hijra can even curse you. And so in this book I was able to read more about the community, the transgender community, and it was very insightful, because first-hand experience from somebody who, you know, was connected to that world. But the story was powerful because it just conveyed real life stories that like sometimes we don't know unless we interact with that world, and not many of us get a chance to. So I think those experiences are always the most precious ones. But anyway, and thanks to me actually attending the Pride Parade that year, I remained in touch with some of the queer activists in Bangalore, and I attended many more events in the future. There was even once this poetry charity event that I took part in, and I performed some of my original poetry and performed an original song there.
So will the honey be worth the pain? And will I get more than you'll take away? Will you leave me breathless scars? Will you leave me breathless with no guiding stars?
Yeah, like the last time I attended one of their events was in 2020. They had some panel discussion event, and who knew that it would take me another 9 years to attend another Pride Parade. It's been 9 years. It has been 9 years, 9 incredible years since then, and I'm very grateful for that experience. I will always cherish it in my life as my first ever Pride Parade.
Today was so cool. I mean it. Like, seriously.
That's my story of how I first ever attended a Pride Parade in Bangalore in 2016. All right, hope you had fun time listening and watching this archive footage, and I will see you very soon. Enjoy. Happy Pride Month, everybody. Bye.